So the real reason AI adoption in enterprise is slow is because in the last decade, everyone went omni-channel, but in the wrong way. So I saw this firsthand working with like a large utility company, one of the largest in Europe. So this company in particular, they onboard about 500,000 customers a year. So they have a solid acquisition machine, okay? And their problem was also not materializing in churn. Their problem was that the cost to serve its customer base was getting ridiculously high. And the root cause, customers who didn't onboard digitally, so the ones who onboard through brokers, third parties, over the phone, they became expensive to serve over their life cycle with the company. When they called support, their data wasn't aligned with their profile. Agents had to re-explore everything from scratch. In some cases, the company was missing data entirely, sending wrong bills, failing to get payments through. Small gaps at onboarding compound into like massive cost downstream, okay? So the customers who did onboard digitally, completely different story. Everything was tied to their profile. They could self-serve on the app or website. Digital channels resolved most of the issues on the spot. Only the hard ones, they were escalated on the phone. So comparing those, the cost to serve was dramatically lower. Not because they added more channels, but because the experience was continuous. And that starts from day one. It's obvious, but at that scale, like you have all these different acquisition channels. So that's really hard to pull off. Now imagine dropping some AI agent into the same broken environment, the same missing data, the same fragmented profile. It can solve for a little bit of that, but it confidently will handle conversations and confidently will get it wrong. And this is why adoption is so slow at the enterprise. If you haven't reduced the cost to serve, but basically you've like automated the confusion. And that's why it's so hard to get it right. And that ties back to like omni-channel, because omni-channel doesn't mean like being everywhere. It means like you're making the customer not repeat themselves, for example. And this is the pattern that I'm seeing. So over the last decade, multiple touch points are not the same as a consistent experience. We just added more channels and now we're omni-channel, but we haven't designed our way through it. So every time a customer is switching channels, they lose context, we lose context. And internally, like the reason is almost always the same. Siloed teams, fragmented data, and their KPIs are optimized per channel instead of per journey, right? So we walk through the broken version. A customer onboards via a broker. They call support because they have a problem and they have to repeat everything, almost everything about themselves, about their contract. Same with email. It ignores the call, they visit a store, it resends it again. They try to use the AI assistant. It hasn't really an idea of what actually happened. So this company also said, like, we didn't build omni-channel, we just built more channels. And AI is becoming the most expensive one to improve or like to reduce the amount of problems. What the seamless version could look like. So if the customer begins online, okay, they onboard, everything is fine. Until they have a problem, they call support, and the agent, they see full context, follow-up email reference to prior interaction, in-store visits, if there was any, where digital left off, like the AI agent, whether that's like a chatbot, a voice assistant, a co-pilot inside your product, has access to the same context just as everyone else. For the company, is more important even what this matters. It can even aggregate all these data and build context for AI, right? So you would have spaces like overall billing context, overall onboarding context, and so on. So when these contexts are built from real data and are connected to the systems of record, then you can actually put AI to work for all your internal teams as well, right? It's not just about the individual customer interaction, it's about the patterns over the life cycle, over the customer journey. And this is what AI actually unlocks when the foundation is right, not just faster responses for the individual customer with better data, but the ability to have full context at every touch point, at scale, right? This is like, oh, everything at scale. No, this is the true solution to get it at scale, because no person would be able to do this. This isn't about the channels. It's like the continuity of business. So I'm seeing like 4 things that this company in particular is doing it to operationalize this. So first, they think about journey level context, not necessarily who owns the channel, who owns the journey, but who is part and which team is part of delivering that end-to-end experience. AI doesn't change this question, it just makes it a little bit more urgent, because when an AI agent acts on incomplete context, the consequences are moving faster than human mistakes, okay? So it generates new data, and if it's fragmented, it still remains fragmented. So that brings me to the second thing, like they have a shared data layer. Not just integrations, but shared context that travels with experience. And that is actually what AI makes AI actually work, right? We think about journeys being like for humans, but journey context, like step-by-step understanding like what customers go through, is what also is useful context for what makes AI work. Not the model, not the interface, but the context it has access to. So the utilities company's problem was fragmenting the onboarding experience for non-digital customers. Feeding that data with the gaps there to AI, you're increasing the size of the problem. You're just not solving it. So cross-functional KPIs, that's an organizational change that they're making. If each team optimizes their own channel, the end-to-end journey breaks. We already know this, but if you add AI as another channel or as a channel optimized thing, then you'll hit more deflection metrics while customer satisfaction is tanking, right? The number that matters is what does it cost and what does it feel like to be a customer across the full life cycle. So when thinking about those cross-functional KPIs, you would have that on overall billing. There would be a KPI and then multiple teams are contributing to it. And there's all these different customers and all these different cohorts, all these different segments, but everyone gets their bill at the end of the month. So understanding like those cross-functional KPIs and understanding how together we're responsible for them and how that breaks down is one of the things they're trying to solve for that. You surely have specific channel KPIs, specific team KPIs, but overall we're working to something bigger together. And the fourth thing is they have a common experience language, right? Teams need a shared way to describe journeys, customer states, progress. And this is also what makes AI trainable, right? You can't prompt your way to alignment if the underlying understanding of the journey doesn't exist across the organization. So AI is the most powerful context engine we ever had access to, but the context has to exist before AI can use it. And the utilities companies, they didn't need a better call center, right? They didn't need smarter AI. They needed a clear picture of where the journey broke, which was at onboarding, and then organizational alignment to fix it and focus on it. How they would measure it is say, okay, we got like millions of call minutes per year. Well, what if we halve that? That's a shared KPI that everyone can rally against. And then you realize, oh, that's because the cost to serve is materializing in a lot of unnecessary calls. Great. But where does that sit in the experience? Well, it starts with onboarding people properly, teaching them, showing them, giving them the tools they can have to problem solve whenever there's something inconsistent or they don't like or they need help with, and ultimately reducing the need for instantly calling because you don't know what's going on and the company doesn't know what's going on. Customers don't think in channels. I mean, they don't think in AI versus human. They just act according to their wants and needs. So if your customer has to repeat themselves to your agent, to your chatbot, to your AI, like you do not have omnichannel. If your internal teams need to build context from the data for every project, for every initiative or root cause analysis, you do not have omnichannel. You just have more places to get it wrong.